Thank you. So again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning session on making sense of your CERs. I am assuming everyone here knows what is a CER or what are CERs. And just for a baseline, if you may, I would like to invite you to participate in the poll that should be on your screen. Just about 3 questions that we're asking to gauge where we are before we proceed, or as we proceed. Is everyone seeing the poll? Okay. Right, so we'll work with what we have here. So there's 3 simple questions. Have you ever accessed your CER reports before? We have 2 persons who said only once they've been able to do it. 4 of you said regularly. Confidence and understanding. There is a spread between somewhat confident and not confident. In terms of your most confusing section of the CER report, the most frequently stated is ratings. So hopefully we're going to solve some of these issues or make it less confusing. Now, we're not going to approach this from a high science statistical perspective to confuse things. We're going to try to keep it as simple, as we said, as possible. So I am Mark Garcia. I am the research officer at the center. I am the CER, Course Experience Review Coordinator for this campus, part of the university team of coordinators for each campus. You may know me from other things. Have been doing this for quite some time. And as you know, we've been trying every semester, every year to improve the functionality, and not just the functionality, but the use of the data that is being gathered. So we're looking forward to an interactive session. Although it's hands-on, we're trying to be as interactive as possible. So, you know, those of you familiar with me, that I always prefer, simply because I cannot keep monitoring the chat because of how my monitors are set up, that we unmute, say what's on your mind, say what's the question that's bothering you, and we discuss things as we proceed. Yeah? Everyone cool with that? Everyone on the boat? Same boat, moving forward?
Yeah, same boat.
Good. So as we said, we are going to discuss a couple of things. How to access the reports in Qualtrics, how to understand the quantitative, so those ratings that we discussed, or that some of you highlighted in the poll, how to identify the meaningful patterns and trends, to distinguish between actionable feedback and outliers, and to have some strategies for using the CER to improve our courses, and an action plan for responding to student feedback. Now, it sounds like a lot. It sounds like a little time for so many, but you'd see how quickly we'd be moving in a very interesting approach. Now, the one thing that we always have is some kind of grounding theory. Now, what is the grounding theory that you believe should be used when we're thinking of what do students think about my teaching? It may not be an actual theory that you have in mind, but please feel free to unmute. Share what you think should be something that we use as the foundation. Why is student feedback important? Why must I read it? Why must I do something in response to it? Anyone? Again, feel free to unmute.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that you want to always make sure you've got a process of continuous improvement, that you need to be able to judge the level of grasp and comprehension, accessibility to your teaching. You'd want to be able to make sure that that the type of methods you're using are providing sufficient stimulation and engagement for the student. You know, so I think there are a lot of reasons why. And also sometimes you pick up issues from the students that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see, or that could be kind of surprising. Sometimes they're not really valid, and even in ones that would be invalid issues, you know, I try to understand why the students have got, you know, a kind of false perception of the way things are or whatever, you know, or like, for instance, oh, too many coursework elements or something like that, which might be inherent to the design of the course and done in a very deliberate way. But the students just feel it's like they have too many because they don't understand that that's actually, you know, the arrangement of the learning process for them.
Right. Thanks for that. Thanks so much for that, Dr. King. Anyone else? Any other thoughts?
And sometimes it's oh, hold on, can you see me? Hi, it's Amy. I agree with what Graham says. It's the primary reason to reflect and have some substance to kind of, you know, self-evaluate, but also it's sometimes got the practical use of when you're applying for promotion, or you know, you can include it as some kind of quantification that is evidence. Some it's not the only thing, but it's one element of the evidence for your teaching, and just for you, but also for others.
I'm very grateful that you raised that, Amy, in terms of having something to use as a quantifiable measure. And it's actually going to be something that we're going to discuss in our upcoming workshop on scholarship of teaching and learning. And we're saying this because the CER at this campus is used more in a developmental approach. It actually should not be used for HR decisions. However, the CER feeds into the scholarship of teaching and learning, and that could be used in those decisions. So that's something that we're going to develop a little further. And of course, in full depth in our upcoming workshop at the end of, I think it's mid-November, but you'll see the advertisement coming out soon. So here's the real basis of the whole thing. It's pretty much what Dr. King said. It's the same thing that you said, Amy, but it's actually just a theory of reflective practice. And you'd have come across it in some of our workshops before, those of you who've done Cuttle. And reflective practice, as Dr. King said, is something that is kind of deliberate. Now, he mentioned searching for things that work that didn't work. So it's not just a one-sided approach, but it's something critical that looks into the way that we do things, finding room or areas rather to improve. So we're looking for a deeper understanding of ourselves and the meaning shared among individuals, and the individuals meaning our peers as well as our students. I like the last sentence in that quote. It says it can happen during practice and after the fact, and can either be done alone or with others.
Mark, we're seeing a presenter view, maybe?
I'm seeing the wrong window.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. Just switch out. Sec. Of course, the computer wants to stick now. Right, share. Good. Seeing the correct window this time? Yeah, okay, great. So yeah, so we're saying that reflective practice is something that is deliberate. So as we go into the course experience reviews today, we're going to look at it from a critical and deliberately inquisitive perspective. Now, additionally, one theory on reflective practice is a theory postulated by Brookfield. Again, those of you who've done Cuttle or any of the workshops in reflective practice would have come across this. Now, Brookfield highlights 4 lenses for critical reflection. And those would be your own lens, so yourself, your peer lens, which would be asking your peers to come in and do some peer observation, or in the case of the CER, even feeling liberal enough to ask a peer to review your CERs with you when you're doing your own reflection. And then there's a theoretical lens, of course, seeing how the literature validates what you're doing. But the one lens that a lot of persons minimize or minimalize is the student lens. Now, the students are, as I always say, our customers. If there are no students, we have no job. So it's important that we see things through the students' eyes and understand the impact of our practice on their consumption of our service. Agreed? So as we're moving forward, again, we're going to go into the hands-on segment of things, simply going into Qualtrics and messing around with the data that's there in our own accounts. Think every time from the student lens, every time I'm reading this thing, what is the student experiencing? It may not make sense because they are not trained critiques or they are not necessarily adept in terms of the understanding of the literature as to how to give good feedback. But we do have mechanisms in place that allows them to have quite a quick grasp of it. So here's my question to you. How many of you do not have access to Qualtrics as it stands? Because at this time, we would need to log in to Qualtrics before we move forward. Dr. King, is that a no?
Yeah, I don't think I need to check. I haven't used it for several years because, of course, I've been with Stacey, so I haven't been teaching. So I just need to quickly check and see.
All right. Anyone
I don't
else?
know if it was being used when I finished teaching.
I have to check as well, Mark. It's been a couple of years since I've logged in because I wasn't sure that was even still happening, to be honest, which is why I thought I'd sign up for this because I didn't hear much about it. But I did I have used it since it was Qualtrics. Well, what's the name of the new program?
Qualtrics. Yeah.
Qualtrics. Yeah, so I'll see. Let me see if I
Okay,
Could you
so
just put the link back up quickly?
right. So here's what I'm going to do. For those of you who just indicated such, I'm going to send you a quick email here.
Okay, great.
It's going to go to your staff email.
While Mark is doing that, for those who have some questions, feel free to turn your mic on. I've seen Alet, your hand is raised.
I was just saying that I didn't have access.
Okay, so Alet doesn't have access. Mina, is it that you're saying you don't have access as well? And
I
Marie?
don't think I have the link.
Okay, so Mark is working on it. So just give him a minute. Check your email. Make sure you have access to your UB email.
Staff email, correct.
Yeah.
Do you know what our username would be? Is it our full email address with the STA in it, or?
Yes. So the email, sorry, the username right now is with the STA. So I just sent everyone who indicated. I just sent you a password reset or a site access email. You just open it. Your username is your sta.ue.edu email. It has not yet been updated. It will be updated this semester, but for now, we're going to use the STA. Marie, I'm seeing your hand up.
Hi, sorry about that. Yeah, I got in late, do electricity at home, but I'm new and so I don't know anything about Qualtrics at all. But good morning, everyone.
Well, welcome to the campus, Marie. So this is your first semester teaching at the campus, is it?
As a lecturer, yes.
Okay, nice to have you. So Marie, I beg your pardon, but what we are discussing today, as we said earlier, in case you missed it, is the course experience review. So the course experience review, for anyone else who may be new, is a short survey that is sent to the students at the end of the semester. Typically, it begins during teaching week 10, and it lasts until just 2 weeks after the end of examinations. Now, what the survey is asking is for feedback from the students based on the course experience or their learning experience throughout the course. So those of you who would be familiar with the old system of the student evaluation, of course, is on lecturers. We realize that a lot of the questions have changed. It's a lot less, it's meant to be a lot less punitive and more of something that could be useful. And actually, it was done with the intent of reducing those outliers that we mentioned in the outcomes. And we're going to get to that. Right, so Mina, you're in, Amy, you're in, Graham, you're in, Arlette, got in?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Did I miss anyone else? Marie, your account would not be ready until the end of the course, until the end of your teaching during the semester. Unfortunately, but I'm going to share my screen and you're going to get a good understanding of what it would look like. Yeah?
Sure, thank you.
Hi, Shanique here.
Hi, Jenny.
How you doing? I would appreciate the link as well. And because of my name change again, I'm not sure what I'm using to sign in.
Okay, so your sign-in is Janique.Dennis.
At SDA.
Yes, please remember the at STA. Someone else just indicated. Chanel?
Hi, Mark. This is Zitas. I did not get the link as well.
Oh my goodness. Let me send that one time. Right, Chanel, yours was just sent. So again, remember the at STA. And Zita's yours was sent. Right, so once we're logged in, take 2 minutes to log in. Take 2 minutes to check your devices, check your messages, check your emails, do what you need to do. And we're going to continue in 2 minutes. And we are back. We are back, Amy. I am actually looking into what you're saying here. Just give me 1 second. Because we would need everybody to be on the same page as we move forward. So 1 sec, I beg your indulgence. Amy. Question, do we have any heads of teaching departments here with us? No? Okay. All right, Amy, I'm seeing what's wrong. Let me just correct it. Right. Now, in the meantime, while you're looking, while you're waiting, thanks for that, Miss George, Dr. George. Feel free in the chat, could you just indicate, we're doing things a little wrong side, a little messy this morning, what departments you're joining us from? And I'm going to work on the back end at getting Amy's stuff sorted out. Or if you'd rather unmute, you feel free to go ahead.
All right, this is Dr. Shanique Baker Dennis. I coordinate the Academic Literacies Program
Oh,
in the
great.
Department of Modern Languages and Linguistics.
Thanks for that, Janique. Thank you.
And I'm in.
You're in, great.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to find one last person who is not in. And just make that correction. Denora George, Denora. Right, so Ms. George, quick question. Is this by chance your first semester? You're with us, you can indicate in the chat, but again, welcoming everyone and thanks for putting your departments. So here's what, Amy, we're gonna have to chat after so that I could set it up properly on your end. I'm seeing what is the issue, but we'll correct it after.
Okay,
So I'm gonna, yeah? So what we would do is just follow along with what is on the screen, or you could use what you have, even though it's limited to that one semester or to that one course. It'll still have the same impact. Right. So is everyone logged in? Here's the next thing to do. Let me share my screen. Please select screen. There should be a list of dashboards when you log in. Is everyone seeing my screen now? Yes, you are.
Yes.
Right. And I want you to ensure that you select the dashboard that's entitled STA Lecturers. All right, everyone there? STA
Yes.
Lecturers. Going once, going twice.
Yes.
I think I did that.
Right, good. Now, like I said, I asked if there are any heads because the heads would have a different dashboard, right? So if you are, please, I need it to indicate. So using the STA Lecturers dashboard, your dashboard is going to have a lot less data or total responses than I do on mine, because mine is the overall aggregate data for the whole of the campus. So take a minute for those of you who may not have never looked at it, or you may have lost touch with it. Take a minute, scroll through, you'd see that there is a new section at the end of the survey or the data collected from the questions, a new section that talks about 10 principles of effective teaching. Now, I don't know if the internet is running as slowly as by you as it is by me.
Mark, sorry. This is Zita's. I'm seeing 0.
0, okay. Zita, this down. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm gonna have to deal with it after, but we could just follow along for now. Yeah.
Mark, Bipaya here. I'm
Mhm.
not seeing SDA lecturers. I just have one dashboard.
Now, what's the name of it?
Semester 2, 2021-2022.
Okay, so that is the old one. So I'm just taking a note. Is anyone else not seeing the STA lecturers dashboard?
I'm not seeing it.
You're not seeing it.
Well, I don't know if I got filters applied or something. Hide filters.
No, but the name to the top of the page, you should see this, where my cursor is.
STA, yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
Okay, good.
But it's not I'm seeing that, but I'm not seeing the dashboard that you're showing there. But it
Okay.
seems like I've automatically got filters applied, like teacher ID is my ID. Term name 15 selected, embedded data 4 selected.
Right. So
Cool.
let's use that as a starting point as we move forward. So you've logged into Qualtrics. This is your dashboard. Yeah, we are here. Now, what are you going to see? You're going to see your first thing, as Dr. King is saying, is the list of filters. Now, mine has 0 filters selected because mine is simply the aggregate data. So how the dashboard is set up is that when you log in as a lecturer, choosing the STA Lecturers dashboard, you should automatically see your lecturer, your teacher ID as selected. And you would most likely also see a list of semesters or terms that should be bolded. Is that what you're seeing, to be correct?
Yep.
Great, right. Now that simply means that is a source of confidence that nobody else could see what you're seeing except me. So that is the setting that tells you that the whole system is private to you. So let's go on. We have the filters. So we have a filter that's called course code. So if you've taught multiple courses and you click on that filter, it's going to list all of the courses that you've ever taught. Of course, remember, mine is going to show all of the campus's courses. It's going to give you, well, your name should be highlighted. As you move through the courses, what we have realized, and I do apologize for this, but it's kind of a garbage in, garbage out process in some, let me explain it. So every semester before we launch the CER, we request data listings from each department. So the admin sends to us the list of courses taught, and we continue to specify that we only want the courses taught by your department. Sometimes we get courses that are taught from, let's say, a dean's office or from another department, but the lecturer is from department X, but the course is offered in department Y. So you might see a case where you have a course code, let's say ABC 1001, and it should be taught when you click on department, or after you select ABC 1001 rather as a course code, you might click on department and you're now seeing about 2-3 departments. And that is the result of misinformation that we would have received at the point in time. Now it makes no difference because the data is still there. But if you do see a discrepancy, I'm just explaining what's the underlying factor for it. And then you would see a term ID, term name. One is just a shortened form of the other, the faculty. And as we said, your teacher ID is going to be given in bold and unchangeable. All right, so the first section of our CER is the demographic section. So you should see something called total responses, gender, age, percentage of classes attend, frequency of logging in. Frequency of logging in per week, just displayed differently. One is a pie, one is a bar. And this was just to maintain visual coherence throughout, right? So we just added a replication of this question just for the visuals. So one thing that I want you to note as we move forward, remember we were looking at this with a critical, deliberately inquiring lens, the student lens. Now, what I want you to know about Qualtrics is that Qualtrics dashboard, this STA lecturer's dashboard, is dynamic. And when I say dynamic, that simply means that if I'm selecting any course, and I'm going to demonstrate on this master sheet, so to speak, I can begin to manipulate the data to see what are the themes, what are the demographics indicating. Do females say a certain thing versus males? Is it that males are less in attendance? Let me do the reverse. Is it that females are less in attendance and males are actually going to class more? Is that the shocking thing we're going to find out? Now, how are you going to do that? Simply hover over your widget. Each of these are widgets. So let's say we want to see what's happening across the genders. And I'm already realizing from my aggregate data that females are probably about 3 times more likely to complete a CER. Could everyone see that from this widget?
Yeah.
Yep. For those of you who pay attention to our channels, you would have also seen throughout the last few semesters and academic years that we've introduced something called the CER snapshot. Now, the CER snapshot is like a summary of this summary as a quick fact sheet or a 1-minute video that discusses the meaningful or the highlights of the data set. So female students are 3 times as likely to complete the CER. So let's see what these female students alone say. So I simply click on the female part of the bar, of the pie chart rather, and it's going to change the entire data set to only reflect what the females are saying. Now, if I wanted to know what females above a certain age are saying, I keep the female selected, and then I begin to select the age that I want. So I want to see what 56, 55, 58, 59, all of these say. It should be changing on your end. It's a little stuck on mine. But you get to see the breakdown by demographic. So let's undo this. And here's something to note. After you've selected a widget or manipulated a widget, you're going to see a new filter added to the top of your page. So I've clicked on female and immediately embedded data student gender has come up as female. So I'm just going to either click on the filter and I could select all or simply deselect females. That's one option. Another option is just to click again on the widget itself, the female data. Right, and we realize that now our total responses are back to the full data set of 113,000 responses.
Mark, can I just so when I go into the SDA lecturers tab, I get no data, but I do have data. Where did I find this now? I had it in projects. So if I go into projects, I'm seeing no, okay, sorry. If I go into yes, I get no data on that because of course I haven't taught any classes, but if I go into projects, then
you should see
I've got
another
2022, yeah, semester 2,
right.
2022.
Yeah.
So that's a different system, or like
no, it's the same, system. What that dashboard may not have is the 10 principles of effective teaching at the bottom. But the capability of the system is the same.
Okay, so
the capability
how come the 2022 data is not showing up in the SDA lecturers tab?
So you have, so I'm just writing down the issues, right? So no 2022 data.
Hi, same. When it comes to the SDA lecturers, I'm just seeing 0. This is unique.
Unique. Thank you very much for bringing these things up. So are you also seeing only some? No, you're seeing none at all. Responses.
No, in the SCA lecturers option, I see 0, but when I go into my dashboards, I have semester 21, 22, 1 and 2, 2021, 2020.
Do you
I
also
only
have a dashboard
what?
called Academic Literacies Program?
I was seeing it before. Well, all of them, one says Academic Literacies Program all semesters.
Okay.
Then I have Academic Literacies Program Semester 1, 21,
Right.
22. Then Academic Literacies Program Semester 2, 21, 22. And STA Course Experience Review Semester 2, 2021, 2020.
Are you in a meeting?
Yeah. So I think most persons are going to see that last one that you listed.
Oh, okay.
Of course, you would only see.
Well,
Jenny?
Yes, go on, please.
See ya.
Yeah, so I'm saying you would be the only person who would see those ALP dashboards, given your role in the program. So what for the purposes of where we are now, you can feel free to use the STA semester whatever 22, 20, 21, 22 dashboard.
22.
Yeah. And I'm just writing it down that these are things that I'm going to fix after.
Yes.
And again, thank you for bringing it up. All right.
Because you were talking about 21 principles, but I'm not seeing that at all.
Okay, good. So don't worry, no need to panic. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Okay.
Amy is asking, depending on what the sex ratio across campus is. Amy, was that in response to the filter, I'm guessing?
No, yeah, I was just saying that you said that there were 3 times as many females as males, but that would assume that there's an equal sex ratio of actual students on campus, which maybe is true.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So it was just a flippant remark. It wasn't, don't worry.
So I'm actually not compared against the actual registration data. And thanks for bringing that up. I should be doing that. But what we've always seen is that there's always a case, as we know, where yes, there are more females on campus. We know that. I don't know the exact numbers of by how many, but even in, I would say where I pick it up is in smaller classes, where I can actually see the size of the class, see the persons in it, see the genders, and remember it, that the males are simply not inclined. They have not been inclined. So again,
sorry, Mark, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
I feel like I don't know if it's Qualtrics or the previous thing we had, like some measure of telling us what the proportion of responses that number represents, a bit like, so
the response rate.
Yeah, exactly. Is that
Yes.
captured anywhere?
That is something that we're still trying to get Qualtrics to provide for us as one of these widgets.
Yeah.
So it is something that we unfortunately have to be doing upon request for persons. So for persons who are critical reflectors, people have been calling and asking. And when they do call and ask, I would sit down with the person, go through it, and actually give them the response rate specific to their course. But we can work it out, right? Because we've been asking for.
You can work it out manually, I guess, because it tells you how many responses and you know how big your class was. But that, I just
Right.
wonder if it would just be nice and simple if it just did that calculation for you. But
Oh,
yeah.
believe me, it would be nice and simple.
Yeah.
But it's a hard battle for it.
Mark, are you pulling data at all from Banner, or is this just based on the responses from the departments telling you like course numbers and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so when the department send us the course numbers, I go into Banner then and cross-reference everything. So I would have each enrollment per course or per student, whichever perspective we're looking at it, I would have that entire registration record. So what, as Amy said, what we're trying to get Qualtrics to do is to allow us to create that widget that would allow for a live response rate, so to speak.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to get, because our argument is that we are collecting the data is there. Why can't we work something to get an output, a visible
Yeah.
output?
I mean, I don't want to be throwing too many cats into the bag at this point in time, but
Please do.
other things that I think would be really interesting on these data sets. One is to see the GPA of the students that are responding, because students with a lower GPA would tend to often be more critical of courses.
Yeah.
But there's a factor which involves their personal engagement as well. And then
True.
Likewise, you know, to know whether the respondee is taking the course for the first time or is a repeater. That would also be kind of interesting, if possible.
Taking a note.
I guess the frequency of logging into the online class course room is a nice addition from that perspective, because that gives you some indication of which students are the diligent ones versus
Actually, yes, correct.
Yeah.
And you know, in response to Dr. King, the literature actually shows it's not just the ones who are disenfranchised are going to give the negative. It's actually the ones who sit on the two ends of the spectrum. So the ones who are really engaged, or the ones who are very low, have low engagement. Those two are the groups that actually provide the most critical.
And can I ask, Mark, these frequency of logging in, is that pulled from My Learning, or is that their self-rating?
This is actually a self-rating. This is actually a self-rating. When we did come up with the question, there was no way that the system could actually pull it from My Learning.
No.
Like to get the active login per week.
There's no API that links them.
No, I didn't get an API to do this, to work with it.
Okay.
Yeah, and APIs, talking to other systems, even though it's part of the university ecosystem, it's very hard for us to get an API approved by CERs to get these things done. The other thing is, Mark, I think in terms of getting students GPA and all of these things, we need to also remember that students want to remain anonymous as much as possible when participating in CER. So I'm not sure if that will be a cause for concern. And if it is you also want to get the frequency of logging into a course, you can check that in My Learning itself. Yes, it's separate, but the analytics is there if you want to probably cross-reference the data that you receive here in CER with what is in My Learning.
Yeah, I mean, you could ask for a self-reported GPA, I guess, if you just ask for a cumulative GPA for previous semesters.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
That would be an easy way to get that. Then it's likely the student in most cases will give the actual value. And in terms of, I was also wondering whether there's any value in having a kind of lecturer response, which could give some of those other data sets. If you can't do the API, could the lecturer then, check on My Learning, get the frequencies off there and submit it or something like that? I don't know.
Right. So
it'd be hard for the person to link it to the individual, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So, but in a case like that, that is where we leave the door open to enter into the scholarship of teaching and learning, because that means you're moving into actually deliberately trying to put quantifiable methods to what you're doing. So it's going to require each lecturer now, if they're motivated as such, to remember, lecturers also have that information. So what we don't want to do, as Javed said, is to create any kind of feeling that allows the students to think that it's not anonymous. Last year, we did a survey across the campus, and the largest reason, or the largest reported reason rather, was the questions of anonymity as to why they weren't completing it. Some of you would have seen that we did a short video this month, or was it last month, on that issue. So those identifiers we're trying to really limit. What we're saying is that if you, as the reflective practitioner, want to dive in further and you want to look at this thing almost from a statistical paper or an article, that is what we are encouraging. And that would be the forum now that would allow you to have a one-on-one with us, and we could sit down and work things out to see what is really driving the data that is being collected in your case. Yeah. So we're moving forward. We've figured out how to access Qualtrics, and now we're moving into from the demographics to the learning experience section. So the course experience review is separated into two sections. It's the learning experience and the course on the internet, course design. So in the past, the students would have had, I think, just about 36 questions to do. What we have done, although it looks like a lot still, is that for each course, if a course is taught by 3 or 4 lecturers, multiple lecturers, the student only has to fill in this learning experience more than once. The course design section is only filled once, and that again was in an attempt to ensure that there is no survey fatigue. It's already a fatigue given that you have so many courses and so many different lecturers, but to try to reduce any hindrance of completion. So what questions are looked at in the learning experience? You could see them right there to the left. Learning outcomes communicated, course material is presented in an understandable way, easy to follow the progression, technology, learning activities, and so forth. So what you're going to realize is that the section that discusses learning experience are technically the things that are within the remit or the control of you, the lecturer. Now, the course design, so it's first of all, before I go down to the course design, it provides the mean ratings. And again, yours is not going to be as heavy as mine is. And then it's going to give you the frequency breakdown. Now, we said that we're going to look at how to interpret the quantitative aspect of things. Here's a key point. When we're looking at data from student feedback, that is often implicitly affected by things like response rates. What we would always suggest is that you pay attention to the frequencies, to the distribution of responses. So yeah, we might see a rating of 4.0 and we say, oh, good. But then if we look down or scroll down on our dashboards to the frequency breakdown, it gives us a better understanding of where things lie, where things sit. And that is what we would suggest as being more meaningful when we're trying to figure out what the students thought in terms of technology or progression and the like. So remember that. Favor the frequency ahead of the mean. Don't just jump at the mean. So look at this situation here for, let's say, question 15, provided feedback. It's one of those questions where you actually have little skyscrapers here, little buildings here. Of course, it's higher on this side, but you realize in some of the questions before, it's very low to this end of the distribution, or in almost non-existent here. But then you have a distribution that shows you have a group of persons who are saying that they were never given feedback. Now, why did I highlight question 15? It is simply because for the last 3 semesters where we've done the CER snapshot, the main complaint of the students is that they do not get sufficient feedback on in-course assignments, or they don't get it within time before being able to move on to the final assessment. And that is not finger pointing anybody here. That is just the aggregate findings, right? So keep in mind, we're looking through the experience or the ratings, look at the frequencies before we just make a decision off of the ratings. Everyone on the same point, same page?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Good. So then course design, we're coming down, you realize it's just 6 questions. So again, these are the things that you don't necessarily control. Perhaps you might think, well, question 2 or 3, but in essence, these are the things of availability or what really replaced those questions. Amy, you would remember the old questions that used to ask you about like the building and the time and those kinds of things. Pardon me for that. And again, the same is true here. So you have the mean ratings in the first widget, but please scroll down to the frequency breakdown by question. And again, Miss George and who was the other person? Marie Louise. When you get to it at the end of the semester, when you're reviewing it, let me don't say the end of the semester because this report would not be available to you until the start of next semester. When grades have been reviewed and all that jazz is finished, then the results are available. Again, just keep in mind, favor looking into the frequencies over the mean ratings. Now, in the course design section, we have a question that asks persons about these attributes of the graduates. So the course helped me in developing the different attributes, being a critical thinker, effective communicator, and so forth. So that is what that question is about. Now, most of you teach courses that may not necessarily have a lab or practical, but persons like, who do we have here? Zetas, I think, Dr. Saintville, you all may have labs or practicals, and then most courses have tutorials. So this section examines that aspect of the course, and it's simply 3 questions if the course had tutorials or if the course had labs, practicals, or both. So the student could either answer one or the other or both in the event that it did have both. And we're looking to see whether the tutorial or lab helped them to better understand the course content, whether it was linked to the theoretical components of the course, and if the manuals provided were useful. Now, what this tells me as a lecturer is that if I'm seeing a low rating in any of these aspects, I would probably need to have a team meeting with the tutors that I'm selecting. And of course, this may not be you alone doing the tutorials and the lectures, but it would be an indicator that, hey, perhaps I need to check in and see how things are going. I've been in a course where I've seen 3 tutors teach almost 3 different things, which was a serious problem some years ago. And it came up in the tutorial section. And those days, that was the student evaluation of courses and lectures. So when you want to find out how your tutors are doing, you come down to this section on the labs and the practicals. Any questions before I move forward? Any questions? Comments? Right, good. So we're moving on, keeping it short and sweet. We're going to look at the overall satisfaction. Now, the overall satisfaction is specific to 2 questions. One that asks the student their agreement with the statement, overall, I am satisfied with my learning experience in this course, and I feel that I have achieved the goals when I started the course. So these would replace those 2 overall questions from the SECL that asked about lecturer performance. That question in itself was a tough one for persons to take, what's the word I'm looking for? Diplomatically, because that's why we're saying the old question was a bit more punitive. So students are now saying, discussing the satisfaction with the learning experience and their goal achievement. So when you look at the snapshot, when you get the snapshot as a lecturer, you might see it on our website, on YouTube. You might see it posted within your department on the boards because we do pass and stick them up, or we do email them to everyone. So you might see it somewhere. We have multiple means of delivering that output. This is what we're looking at. Those overall ratings are what we generally pull from these two questions. So goal achievement and satisfaction with the learning experience. Now I come to the meat of the matter. So I've eaten the rice, the starch, the beans, the whatever. And now I'm coming to the meat, which is in the open-ended comments. And I'm saying that because the open-ended comments give us a whole lot more meaning when we're examining student feedback. Now, how we've set up this section is that we've provided a 10-point word cloud along with a response ticker. So each widget side by side would be specific to what we're discussing. So this is the same question. What did you like most about the course? Then what did you like least about the course? What changes would you recommend for teaching the course in the future? So remember, the dashboard is dynamic. So if in this case, I'm seeing students saying the word lecturer as most widely stated in their response to this, I might think, okay, if I'm interpreting this data, okay, they must say something, I like my lecturer. Or it might be something more detailed. The lecturer did not do so and so. Instead, the lecturer did that. Now, what we would do, because the dashboard is dynamic, again, we select the word of interest. So in this case, I'm going to select lecturer. And I'm prefacing this, that if I click on this and somebody's name comes up here, I'm removing it immediately, right? So, but on your end, I want you to do this for those of you who are in and have this widget on your dashboard, whether it's the old dashboard or the new dashboard. So let's see what they're saying about the lecture. Click on it. And again, it's going to sort all of the data. Okay, good. So no names here. So the lecturer took time to explain the material. So you're already seeing that you're getting stuff being detailed that you would not obviously get in a like it scale question. So you took time to explain the material. It wasn't just about passing a test, but why things work the way they did and common pitfalls. When you listen to some, what is open mic here? What is your take on a student given this kind of feedback? Imagine you are the lecturer. What does this tell you? Open mic, anyone?
Hey, Mark, could you pop out that section?
Javel, I could tell you, I'm going to Zoom because I really don't want anybody's info to start coming up here, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
just whoop. 1 sec. Oh, come on.
what you could do is probably pause your recording.
Yep.
If you want, you could pause your recording and then
So,
start it back when you're ready.
we could work with this. Right. So yeah, you are the instructor, the lecturer. What is your take? What is your response to this feedback?
I think I'll be pretty happy.
Pretty happy. Anyone else? Besides just the emotion. If we are using the critique or the critical deliberate inquiry lens.
It looks like this student took the time to actually think about what the course did for them. You tend to find that students generally respond according to emotion, right? But because of the details given here, it seems that they did take the time to think about how the course what they really liked about the course.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
As a lecturer,
Go ahead.
we tend to get so many students saying, I just don't like this or I just don't like that, and they can't articulate what about it they did not like or what about it they liked. So so this response is one that I would pay attention to.
And it'd be interesting if, like, you might be able to, that lecturer might be able to pinpoint, oh, I did something differently this year, and you're getting that positive feedback to say, oh, that was worth going the extra mile, and I'll do that again next year, or I'll do more of that in my next time I do this course because it's clearly being well received. So it allows you to reflect with evidence.
Thank you so much for that, Amy. So this is where that deliberate inquiry comes in, and this is where we begin to step over into scholarship of teaching and learning, where we start to get evidence. So suppose I have done something different in the way of delivering the session. Suppose I have, persons are saying that my class is probably a 5 to 8, and I decided that I'm going to make it a hybrid class, that persons don't necessarily have to come in the room, but I'm going to set up a camera and they could join in on Zoom or whatever it is. If that is the intervention that you made, you're getting richer feedback that was not captured in those quantitative comments. And that's why we're saying, when you do reach this section, please, please click on these words and see what the data is saying when you drill down. So you have a nice long worded response like this one that we just discussed. And then you have the shorter ones, lecturer's teaching method. We're down slowly here. Right, so learning about emerging tech and application in multiple sectors. Lecturer was knowledgeable and engaged the class well. So it tells me that apart from the student just liking what he was learning, he found that whatever I did in terms of delivery was engaging. Interaction, something else that we're seeing. Now, here's something as I have it zoomed that I want you to observe. In past times, I do recall when this thing was on paper and we come in at the end, the AA would come in and distribute the forms and they would shade and whatnot. We would have a lot of cases where this, what did you like most, would be blank. And then you'd have eons of responses for what did you like least. And I am happy to see that there is almost a similar number. Matter of fact, now you have more positive than what did you like least responses. So pay attention to those response counts on each widget as well. We're going to go down now to what did you like least. So remember, every time you select something, deselect it so the full data set could repopulate. Now, what did the student like least? Big things, class. Okay, we may not understand what that means, but we're seeing time. So let's try to figure out, I got my responses. The student is saying something about class. Click on class. Right. So out of class group activities, managing work in class. So this may really start to tell you that this is obviously something personal. This is not something you could control. Too many online classes. But you know what? The student went a little further and said that it was also slightly disorganized. This one says participation carried a large percentage. And the competition the competition, because of that, disrupted the flow of class. And the lecturer had to spend time managing over contributors. So you are the lecturer. What are you going to do? Dr. Sinville noted, thanks for the heads up. You are the lecturer. This is the feedback that you've received. What do you do? Is it something that's worth addressing?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think that you have to sort of maybe revisit that and calibrate the level of weighting that's given to that participation. Or maybe you make it a different format. So you give rating or if you want to give some score to it, you give the score for online participation rather than in-class participation.
Exactly. So it's a bit of a two-sided coin. So you're dealing with something with assessments and you're also dealing with engagement and delivery. So as you're saying, perhaps you might need to use a discussion forum or discussion board or whatever it is that you're using online. And then you may also need to revisit your assessment weightings. So it's just one example, and I'm really hoping that those of you who have access to your data are seeing the things that are possible. I'm going to deselect the filter. Changes recommended. Well, the concept is going to be obviously the same in terms of selecting a filter. Going down now to, just zoom out a bit. All right, 10 principles of effective teaching. Now, these 10 principles were decided upon throughout the university, and this was done with the help of the Board for Undergraduate Studies, as well as graduate research, or graduate studies rather. So these 10 principles, planning, my one concern, Janique, is that large amount of missing data. This is with
In the
ALP.
courses, I'm not even thinking about the entire ALP. For example, I would have delivered 7 courses, about 1 or 2 every semester from 2021 to now, and all
Right.
I'm seeing are 2 courses. That's a
Right.
lot
So
of
remember
data
that,
missing.
yeah, that is because of the things that I've been writing down. So that the dashboard that you have there, 21, 22, is not going to show those things. We have updated the dashboard. So this one, now that you've given me the info, I will create or amend, and that is going to show you the data that you're missing. Yeah, so I have no fear about that.
So that would be for me alone or for all lecturers, or how is it?
But the
Is it for
persons
the
who
ALP team?
indicated, go ahead.
Your response just now was for me alone?
Right, so that's for anyone who is saying that they only have that dashboard that semester something 21, 22.
21, 22.
Yeah, the
If
STA lecturer's dashboard is the one that has everything. And for those of you who have issues, who have indicated it, I'm going to look into those things and get those things fixed. So that's going to display all of your data.
Is this an appropriate time to request that the entire ALP team have their databases updated?
Their database is updated under the all semesters app. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll look again.
Yeah. So the 10 principles: planning, alignment, content selection, assessment, come on, internet, learner-centeredness, prior learning, organization of knowledge, self-directed learning, oh, this is embarrassing, communication, and well, I hope on your end you're seeing it, commitment to improvement. Now, what we've done here is that we have grouped some of the questions from the overall CER into these different 10 principles. These 10 principles were created based on the literature that suggests specific areas of teaching, teaching and learning that we are focusing on improving. So it gives you a kind of a bird's eye view on different aspects of your course, or probably your own teaching practice, because you have a mean figure here. And again, remember, go back to your frequencies. So your distribution on the right, I actually have to add because it still is giving you a mean figure here. But what you can do in the interim is go to these questions. So 1, 2, 3, 4 in the learning experience section. See what were the frequency distributions for each of them. So if you have a low point, the lowest one I think is usually that first one, and commitment to improvement. Yeah, so generally the planning, what I've seen, that planning and commitment to improvement, yep, there we are generally the 2 lowest ones that are rated. Now, what this signals to me while you're scrolling through, while I am the lecturer and I'm scrolling through my own report and I'm seeing these ratings, it's telling me that, hey, I need to revisit some things critically. So this is where I'm going to use the lens. This is not just about, it was fine, I teaching this thing a long time and I'm going to continue teaching it that way. No, we're doing it based on the grounding theory of reflective practice. So what we're going to do based on these aspects is to either compare what we found in the frequency distribution, or Because you have the data set and it's dynamic in front of you, you could go into the open-ended comments and drill down now and see what else the students might be saying. Now, suppose you don't like what Qualtrics is showing you or how Qualtrics is moving or the internet is giving trouble. My suggestion, you click on this icon, the ellipsis icon, and this gives you the settings, not the settings, but further options per widget. And you export this, and it's going to give you the option to export it as an Excel file or a PDF. As soon as the internet complies, that window is going to come up, that dialog box, and you're going to have the option to select which of those views you would like. It's now coming. Yeah, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options. Of course, Excel would be the most friendly one, or CSV, if we're going to dig into it to analyze the data. So what we are saying is that please always compare, as we said from day one, from the start, your frequency against that mean rating. Don't go gung-ho on the mean rating. Then when you come to your open-ended, please use the dynamism of the dashboard to drill down and see what the students are saying. I think you also have the option of seeing what this student, here we go. So view full report. So suppose we have a very, very critical student. And I want to make sure that this is not just something crazy or something that's a serious outlier. What I would do, I would click on the ellipsis for the response, and I would click on view full record. And when I click on that, it's going to give me the entire response set from that one student. Yeah, and of course, still, we are not going to be able to identify it, or hopefully we are not going to be able to identify that student. Now, this also gives us the opportunity to identify the patterns and the trends because of the dynamic nature of the dashboard. Now, for those of you who would be deep divers into the data, if you want to export, so I'm going back to the top. All right, let's load it. Right. Now, if you want to look at all of your work done in a specific course, so I'm going to drill down a bit. And let's say I select this course. I'm not going to. I select one course. And perhaps I want to see what happens in that course for the last 2 or 3 years. So I have selected the course. I could take a chance. Nobody's name is going to come up here. All right. And I am going to select, I want to see, since I've been trying this new thing in my classroom for the last 2 semesters or last 2 academic years, I'm going to select the course for 1, 2, or the academic years 22, 23, 23, 24. When we use the filters appropriately, we could see now changes in time, changes in responses over time. So we get in data that could be used now for further analysis. So if I've made these selections, so I'm comparing 22, 23 semester 1 with 23, 24 semester 1. I'm not going to scroll along like I said, but here's what you could do as the lecturer. You then come to the top right of the page and select the export dashboard option. And that's going to give you the opportunity to download the dashboard. Now, the PDF would be obviously the most reader-friendly version. But if you really want to examine things and analyze data, use your MaxQDA and those kind of things, download it as an XLSX file or a CSV file, something that you can use and is not just an image or something reader-friendly. Now, that is how we would be able to, in addition to what we have seen in the not the frequencies, but the open-ended responses. By putting it into Excel and then into a statistical software, we would be able to massage the data a bit more and pull out the trends. So I could select the data, remember, specific to the course and then specific to the term. So if I know that as a lecturer, I've made a change in semester 2 of 22-23, I don't necessarily need 2021, but I might take 21, 22 to see what has happened before, 22, 23, and 23, 24. So be selective when you're approaching your own data analysis. Now, we've shown an example of receiving student feedback. We have had a very detailed, nice response, and we've shown what could be our good response, or our being able to distinguish that from somebody who's just complaining. So suppose you're seeing something, as we saw before, that the lecturer was engaging. I'm just going back down to that section. The lecturer was engaging. Oh, come on, internet. Any questions meanwhile, while this thing loads? So lecturer. Right, so this one where he
And one
explains.
question mark,
Sure.
the little 3 dots
Mm-hmm.
that you have there, that's it. Yeah, that's the new feature, right, on this STA lecturers, because I'm not seeing that on my dashboard from this version.
Right. So yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So here's how we want to go about this. We want to make sure that we're not being, as the Trinis would say, riled up. So there's a theory that says when you're looking at your student feedback, you choose the right time. You make sure you're in the right mood, because it's something that could frustrate you, especially when students are on the ends of that range that we talk about, and quite more often than not, they tend to be negative. Now, how do we differentiate the outlier versus something that is actually helpful? Well, we simply read through, and what I would always invite persons or ask persons to do is that while you're reading, you're not going to have 6,000 responses. So let's say you have 20 responses. What you do is you just use a simple thematic approach, So this person says nothing bad, you put your theme to that. Is it really impacting what you're looking for in your feedback? Not necessarily. But now you see, okay, so this one, as we said before, was possible assessment and what was it? Engagement online. So using the discussion forum versus that. And we're starting to go one by one, eliminating things that are in our remit or cannot be controlled. So lecturer sessions being late at night. Quite often, that is not the fault of the lecturer. That is something out of your remit. So this is where we're being pragmatic and we're being straightforward with ourselves when we are reading these things, because we could read this after a hard day and say, well, what do you want me to do? We say that to ourselves, what do you want me to do? I care enough about the time. The point is, as we move through, look for the things that could actually help you in your teaching practice. That is what we're focusing on. That is what we're focusing on. So a concrete strategy, for example, was highlighted with this same student who said this thing about the competition, the participation competition. So my concrete strategy for moving forward is that next year, I am going to use more discussion forums on my learning than using the class participation, the live class rather, to allow the students more time to get the concept, or not have competition in persons talking too much or unnecessarily. Let's have another example. The volume of information covered felt quite heavy for the short time frame, making it a bit challenged to absorb everything fully. Concrete strategy: I am going to go back and see what my outcomes are for the course, what my outcomes are for each lesson. And am I biting off more than I could chew, or am I making the student bite off more than they could chew? So perhaps I need to restructure how I do things, or perhaps I could flip a session, give them some of the content before, and I'm beginning to see changes that I could implement based on theory that can have a positive impact on the student's learning experience. Anyone has any questions? Are you seeing the idea of how we could use the feedback to see what is actionable and how we could identify our responses, our concrete responses to the feedback and action plans? Any questions?
I don't have an answer for that.
Oh
Is
my.
there something?
So it seems serious in the class. Any
Yeah, I mean, I
questions?
think I know that I appreciate the the deep dive, and I think that's something that even with the old version of and the manual kind of version of the course reviews, I tried to do that as best I could. I'm still a little bit worried because even though you say that it's supposed to be formative assessment, I do think it's used in the certainly in engineering, it is used in the promotion and assessment process as well. So where you get those kind of comments, is there any way, do you think, in terms of going for promotion and assessment and not just using the mean values and that kind of thing, that we can, as lecturers and senior lecturers and so on, going for professorship, can we represent our data better?
Well, I guess in doing it the legitimate way, we would always recommend that this is where you just book a one-on-one, because it could be a case of how do you present the data, the same data, how do you describe it differently or account for it? And that's where we would come in. So if you are seeing a possible red flag and you think it's going to be an issue, reach out to me or any of the faculty development specialists, and we could sit and go through it. And there would be literature that could apply. There could be past trends that might have been missed. Something that we could identify that would be something that could work in our favor, in your favor. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Meanwhile, no. All right. So just being mindful after we've seen all of what the platform could do. 1 second, y'all. I'm just waiting on this computer to load. Yes, back. Right.
Mark, while you are waiting,
Uh-huh.
just a quick question.
Sure.
I was seeing my word cloud before, and now I am not seeing the word cloud. Is there a filter?
My goodness, Mina, did you delete it?
I hope not.
Don't worry, I'll fix it. Let me just take a note.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. Right. So just to wrap things up, simple practical tips in responding to feedback. I just keep it as 5 steps. Start the thing off with that grounded theory of reflective practice. Use an approach that allows you to read and then also take a moment to just pause. So you've read something that a student, just threw the mess to the ceiling. Take a moment, rein your thoughts back in. We're being practical here. Relax. Grab a cup of tea, coffee, whatever, take a walk, go play with your dog, and then revisit it. In a different frame of mind, that revisiting it could help you to respond differently. Now, the thing is, we want to make sure that the first step and the 5th step happen. The ones in between tend to always happen. But you see, if the first doesn't happen, quite often the last is never going to happen. And the point of this morning is that while we have the data, this is not just to be data, but this is to help us make actionable changes based on the insights or an evidence-based approach to improving our teaching practice. So like I said, this now allows us to have the 1st and 5th points in responding to student feedback as allowing us to now step into the scholarship of teaching and learning. And this is where you look into being able to do an investigation into your own classroom. You might be the subject, the students might be the subject. You might be looking at something like Dr. King's suggestion with the GPA, excuse me. And perhaps I want to investigate how my intervention in semester 1 has impacted student grades. So most recently, a lecturer was trying to figure out how the use of a hybrid setup for his classroom has affected student performance over the course of, I think it was 3 semesters. So things like that is where we have the chance to use the student feedback to now do what we are mandated to do, to publish in peer-reviewed journals. And there are peer-reviewed journals in the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. Of course, we have our own, the Caribbean Teaching Scholar, and we invite you to read up on it. There are many others. If you want or thinking of a project, please feel free to shoot me an email, mark.garcia@uwi.edu. Liaise with us. Remember, the student is the customer, and that's what we're driving things to make sure that they are happy, but not with reducing rigor, but we're just making things more accessible to them. And when we say accessible, we're not talking about disabilities alone. We're talking about types of engagement, being able to represent the content differently and so forth. So any questions? Any questions? Again, that workshop is going to be mid-November. It should be advertised today, this week for sure. Please feel free. Again, use your peers to help you. Use us to help you. You could reach out. We are here. Please. Don't forget, check us out on YouTube. Sign up, subscribe, follow our videos. A lot of, not just the recordings, but a lot of our videos now or workshops are delivered like podcasts. So you do have a lot of variations in the content that is being made available. It's right there on our YouTube channel. Follow us on X, Instagram, so forth. Javid would most likely put that in the chat. So before we wrap up, moving forward, any goals in using the CER? Any ideas? Any ideas? Hoping that we're going to see a whole lot of persons now interested and thinking, oh, okay, something could happen here in terms of being scholarly about it. Right. So thanks for that, Javid.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
think the main,
Details?
sorry.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah,
think the
so
main thing-
scholarship of teaching and learning, right? Now for some of the courses, there are low response
Response
rates.
rates, correct.
So I mean, then it becomes a bit of a challenge to really, you know, engage with the scholarship aspect there. But what I really want to know is what are some of the best practices to really get students to respond to some of these surveys and activities? Because I think most lecturers try, they do try in different ways to improve their courses, right? So but to get these responses, what would be the best ways to really get students to do so?
Yeah. Thanks for that, Zita. Now, the best way is the most incongruent way in terms of literature. We can't force students to do it. We can't tie it to their grades, even though it's done in some universities. We've pitched that and it's not accepted. So what we recommend is that what we do, I could tell you from our end. So the ad went out already last week, that short video that we spoke about, that starts to build the anticipation that the CER is coming. The next thing we would do is that we would send some content to you, the lecturers, that you could post on My Learning for your students. While that is happening, we have already posted a banner on My Learning every time they log in that they're going to see it there. So all we ask the lecturers to do is that in the class, you select which class closer to the end of the semester. Allow them 5 or 10 minutes just to complete it. Allow them 5 to 10 minutes to complete it. Don't use that time to walk around, please. And, don't do anything within that 5 to 10 minutes that's going to make them feel less than confidential or anonymous in their
Right. So I
response.
guess we could maybe use some of the teaching assistants or demonstrators.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So
and do it
so
like
a
how
lot of
we used to do it with the
Mhm.
hard copy style.
Yeah, so I was gonna say a lot of persons who actually have the high response rates, that's what they do. So they do it technically in the old way. They step out, they give the students 5-10 minutes with the assistant there, and then they come back in. And they come back in. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah. So I hope this was beneficial. Look out for the post session feedback survey. We need to know, I need to know what could be tweaked as we move forward. We are bang on time. Happy to hear that part from myself. I hope it was something that was useful, the information. Again, please, if you need any assistance, don't hesitate to reach out. My extension is 85220 and my email mark.garcia@uw.i.edu. Please keep in touch. Keep in touch. We're trying to build a community of practitioners with respect to the scholarship of teaching and learning. So again, look out for the upcoming workshop because that's going to be step 1 into identifying actual research ideas, questions, so forth into your own teaching and practice that could become publications. So, hope you've enjoyed it and we look forward to meeting you again.